Hi everybody, Dan Bailey here with another photography tip for you. Before I get started though, I just wanted to take a brief moment to say thank you to everybody who's taken the time to watch my videos, leave comments, and subscribe to my channel. I really enjoy interacting with you guys in this way, answering your questions and hearing your own insight on these topics as well. So keep the comments coming, tell your friends about this channel, and share it with your own social media followers as well. Okay, let's get rolling. Let's talk about the difference between using bold and subdued colors in your photography. In the beginning, there was only monochrome, and all of the first photos were shot in black and white, although some of them ended up being more cream and brown and kind of silvery blue. Then in 1936, two men by the name of Leopold Mannis and Leopold Godowsky invented the very first color film, which was Kodochrome. This, of course, opened up a whole new world in which photographers could now express themselves. No longer was an image confined to the bounds of shape, shadow, and tone. The dimensions of color, hue, tint, and saturation were added to the mix, and that opened up a whole new world of possibility and new doors for being creative with your photography. And this allowed photographers to push their creative boundaries in ways that they never had before. And of course, those possibilities were pushed even further with the invention of Photoshop and the advent of digital imagery. Now, with our modern cameras and our computers, we can craft just about any type of look we want in our imagery. The options are endless. We can use vivid camera settings or highly saturated film simulations or slam the sliders in Lightroom and Photoshop and create photos with incredible, bold, saturated color. Or we can pull everything back and go for a much more subdued, quiet look in our imagery. But what's the right way to shoot? What's the perfect amount of color balance that we use in our photos? Is there a point at which we go too far or not far enough? Is there some kind of guideline or general rule that will answer these questions for us? Fortunately, no. There is no rule book or set parameters on how much or how little color you should use. And that's a good thing. And as much as we like to judge other images, the reality is that there is no right or wrong here. As with any other technique in photography, it revolves solely around the story you're trying to tell, the specific emotion or message you're trying to convey to your viewers, and the amount of visual impact you want your viewers to have when they look at your photo. The general trend in photography these days, at least it has been for the past few years, is the more saturated the better. We see it all over places like Instagram and 500px. You know the look I'm talking about. It's like HDR cotton candy with maple syrup poured all over it. That's what my wife calls it anyway. Color's so vivid that it almost makes our eyes fatigue because we see so much of it as we're scrolling through image after image on our phones and tablets. We're talking colors so vivid they would make the Wizard of Oz seem like it was shot in black and white. Now, to be fair, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using incredibly rich, vivid, bold colors in your photography. In fact, rich colors can enhance our photography because this technique complements the way that our memory actually works. We tend to store important moments and events and striking scenes in such a way that our brain actually remembers them with heightened and enhanced significance. And much of this revolves around the inherent emotional connection that we have with our subject matter. Now consider this. If you were to try to capture a snapshot of an incredible scene just using your phone and apply no special creative photography techniques, chances are good that your photo will probably look pretty boring. However, if you were to capture the same scene but use your camera with your good lenses and apply some tried and true photography techniques, maybe even use a little processing, chances are good that your photo is going to look way more exciting. And that's because it more closely matches your own larger-than-life memory of the scene. The colors in our minds are often more vivid than what we saw in real life. And so using highly saturated colors in your imagery plays to this phenomenon of memorized color. In fact, this very psychological concept is what inspired the Fujifilm engineers when they created the original Velvia film. They recognized that photography isn't necessarily about accurate reproduction, but it's a medium for communicating ideas and emotions. Their idea was to create a film that more closely matched the color palette of our own memories. And this experiment proved to be a tremendous success. Velvia went on to become one of the most popular and widely chosen films for outdoor and travel photographers worldwide. And it was also chosen as one of the film simulations inside the X-series cameras. So no matter if you achieve this look in your camera or in processing, using rich, bold, highly saturated colors in your photos can give that larger-than-life look to your work. Of course, going all the way and slamming your vibrance levels to the max isn't the only way to add visual impact to your photos. Let's explore what happens when you go in the opposite direction instead of oversaturating your colors, you actually pull them back. You suddenly tell a very different story with your picture, don't you? In a sense, pulling your saturation way back starts to put your photos into the realm of monochrome territory. And this plays into the whole notion of the art of omission in photography, where less can actually be more. If you give your viewers too much, and you spoon feed them every single aspect of your scene, then you leave very little room for emotional engagement on their part. However, if you use the power of abbreviation in your photography, and you start to leave things out, you invite them to engage their brains and become an active participant in the process. You invite them to think about what lies outside the borders of the frame, what's missing, what didn't you show, what did the colors really look like. In addition, when you start to remove the element of color in your photos, you force your viewers to concentrate on things like shape, shadow, and tone. They're forced to concentrate on the story and the message of the scene instead of focusing on the details. That's why black and white photos can be so powerful. There's a reduced amount of visual information in the photo, and this allows them to concentrate on the story and the message or the emotion you're trying to convey with your image. This is why Kodochrome was so revered by photojournalists worldwide, and why it was the chosen film for National Geographic photographers for decades. It had a very accurate and subdued color palette that helped to tell a story in a very compelling way without giving away too much. And this is the approach that Fuji users often take when using some of the less saturated film simulations, like the Pro Neg standard film sim, Classic Chrome, which is actually patterned like Kodochrome, Eterna, and the new Classic Neg, which is found in the latest cameras, the X Pro 3, the XT4, and the X100V. As much as I love those rich, bold colors, and as much as I love using Velvia in my photography, I also love pulling things back and using the less saturated film sim to tell a different story, to impart a different creative style to my imagery, and present my scenes in a way that gives a different visual impact to my viewers. And as I've talked about in some of my other video tutorials, sometimes I'll even customize the film simulations right inside the camera to add even more creative complexity to my scene. And when I process photos these days, I'm just as likely to drag that vibrance and saturation slider to the left as I am to the right. It all depends on what I'm trying to say with my photo, what I'm trying to focus on. And sometimes it's about getting a creative idea in the moment and just running with it right then. So no matter whether you like to apply your colors right in the camera or later during the processing stage, I encourage you to play around with these two techniques and see what kind of creative ideas they inspire. Try out different looks, go bold, and then pull everything back, and see how the two contrast with each other, and get a feel for the different type of messages and looks that each one conveys. And as with any technique, the more you practice, the more you'll get comfortable figuring out which one to apply for any given scene. And remember, there's no right or wrong here. It's all about what sparks your own creative ideas in the moment, your own excitement. Bottom line, it's whatever you like, whatever feels right in the moment. That's what counts. That's what matters. That's what photography and creativity is all about. So I'm going to end the lesson here. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you found it helpful, and I hope it inspires some new looks and new ideas in your own photography. If you'd like to delve a little deeper and explore photography and creativity from an even more cerebral standpoint, I encourage you to check out my Photography on the Brain video lesson series. In this exclusive course, I give you short, concise lessons that are designed to inspire and challenge you to think about photography and creativity in new ways, and motivate you to try to figure out how to apply these techniques to your own photography process. The course is available as a monthly series, or you can get the first 10 lessons as a bundle. And you can use this link to get a discount on either one. Please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. You can find me on Patreon and social media at Dan Bailey Photo, and you can visit my blog where I have a ton of great content and a bunch of really cool ebooks as well. So again, thanks for watching, have fun with your cameras out there, and I'll see you next time.